Good morning, students. Welcome to the course Retrofitting and Rehabilitation of Structures PE 821 CE. This is a professional elective in CBCS 8 So, uh, we have covered units 1 and 2 so far before the lockdown period. And unit 3, we had completed almost 50%. But however, because I am recording video lectures, I am considering to start unit 3 from the beginning, so that there will be a full complete series. So this unit is titled Condition Assessment, Non-Destructive Testing and Evaluation. In units 1 and 2, we had discussed the various causes of damages and defects and deterioration and the mechanisms of damage and deterioration. So now in this unit, condition assessment, non-destructive testing and evaluation. So these are the key topics: definitions, objectives and stages of condition assessment, destructive and partially destructive tests, and the entire chapter is focused on non-destructive tests and methods of non-destructive tests. So in this particular lecture, lecture 1 of unit 3, we'll discuss three things: definition, objectives and stages of condition assessment, also called as condition survey. The reference material for this lecture, these are the suggested readings given in the end of your syllabus. The reference material for this lecture is Repair and Rehabilitation of RC Buildings. This is a handbook by CPWD. So all these notes are taken from this particular handbook. So definition. Condition assessment or condition survey of an existing building or structure is an examination of the structural components and concrete quality for the purpose of identifying and defining area of distress. So one has to examine a structure to identify which areas or which portions of the structure is distressed. So, and what is the plan of action to be taken. So condition survey has to be done, this condition assessment or condition survey is to be done for this. Now objectives of condition survey. The objectives of condition survey of a building structure are, this should not be is, this should be are, to identify the cause of distress and the source of that distress. For example, we may ascertain that reinforcement bars of a particular beam or slab are corroded, and we must have ascertained that this must be due to moisture seepage into the beam or the slab. However, where from the moisture is leaking, so it is not enough to know the cause of the distress, but it's also to know where is the source of that cause that is starting. So that unless we identify these two together, we will not be able to provide an effective solution. We may give a solution without identifying the actual cause. To assess, second objective, to assess the extent of distress occurred. First one is to identify distress and the source of distress. Second is to assess the extent of distress occurred, to estimate residual strength of the structure and its rehabilitability. That means whether is the structure in a position to repair or it has gone beyond that. That we can't do anything, we just have to demolish and reconstruct. Third, to prioritize the distressed elements according to the seriousness for repairs, and to select and plan an effective remedy. Now an important note in objectives is, this is a guideline rule. you find the cause, the remedy will suggest itself. If identifying the cause is 50% of the work done, if we don't identify the cause properly, then we will lose out. We will not be able to solve the problem. For example, see, sometimes the source of the cause of distress is different than what is apparently seen. For example, in the previous unit, we had seen the various types of uh, mechanisms which yield to cracking on the surface of the concrete. It can be chemical causes, or physical causes like aggregate shrinkage. It can also be drying shrinkage. It can be alkali aggregate reaction. It can be sulfate attack. It can be structural overloads. So there are multiple reasons why cracking occurs, and we may easily mistake one set of cause to other, and also the source of the cause also we may mistake. That's why it is very important to going it is very important to find both the source and the cause of the the cause of the distress and the source of the cause. Next comes to stages of condition survey. Now, condition survey of a building structure is generally undertaken in 4 different stages to ensure effective outcome with minimum efforts and costs. So we have to plan properly this condition survey, because it is not a small activity. If we don't plan properly, our efforts may be doubled, tripled, or multifold times, and we may lose out on cost. So it has to be cost effective and time effective. So accordingly, the 4 stages of condition survey are preliminary inspection, planning, visual inspection, field and laboratory testing. Again, preliminary inspection, planning, visual inspection, field and laboratory testing. We'll see. So these 4 stages are summarized in this chart. So preliminary site visit, we established aims and the information required. Then we do a documentation survey, and we do a preliminary site visit. We'll just in short see what all are required in the preliminary site visit. Then stage 2, planning stage. After the preliminary site visit, we get an idea of what we should be doing. So we have to properly plan a detailed visual inspection stage visit. What all, how, so we will see what all will go into this. Next, after that will be visual inspection. In visual inspection, we carefully observe from technical point of view how the building is functioning, and we may have to do some non-destructive tests and sometimes partially destructive tests. And then we do an analysis and interpretation and report. Based on that, we come to a conclusion. If structural repair is necessary, then we make an action plan. Otherwise, we say structure doesn't require any repair. There may be some very minor patchwork repair. So, preliminary inspection. The primary objective of preliminary inspection, these are objectives for preliminary inspection. There are 3 objectives primarily. To assess and collect the following necessary information for a thoughtful planning. This is preliminary inspection. Next stage is planning. For proper planning, we need to collect this following information. First, background history of the distressed structure from the owners and clients, from the occupants of the building and general public. What was the distress there, and since when they are experiencing that the structure is distressed and not functioning properly. Next, notes and records of earlier repairs if carried out. all possible relevant data and information. Then practical restrictions in conducting field survey and device methods to overcome the same. For example, we also, before we plan a detailed site visit for visual inspection, we have to know the availability of the structure. There may be a residential building always occupied. It can be a commercial building which is occupied during the work days. It can be an industrial or factory building which may not be available 24/7. So there are certain restrictions. Some of the tests that we may have to conduct requires that no one is around. People are not working. For example, when you have to take deflection measurements, when people are moving around, the deflection measurements could be very sensitive. And sometimes it happens that there is a false ceiling, and you want to take the deflections of the slab, and because of the false ceiling you will not be able to take directly. So we need to do some arrangements. We have to remove portion of the false ceiling to measure the deflections. Or so for example, that is one. Another constraint could be that when people should not be working, okay, we may plan that okay, on Sunday we will conduct these site investigation. So the practical restrictions in conducting field survey, we have to identify and devise methods to overcome the same. Then the safety requirements for the condition survey team. Okay, meaning depends on where the damage is located, how they have to do the tests. So for that, safety requirements is essential. Necessary site preparations including access scaffolds, working platforms, etc. if any, the extent and quantum of survey work, the approximate time required for survey, the requirements of field testing equipments, tools for sampling, so on. Then one of the other objectives of preliminary inspection is to advise the client and owner of the building in regard to immediate safety measures. Immediately, as soon as you do a preliminary inspection, immediately we get an idea that yeah, this is a problematic place. The owner should immediately do some measures, vacate people from that place, or immediately, even before full detailed repair of the building is done, that portion of the building should be immediately repaired. Then to define the scope of the work of field investigations in consultation with the clients and owners. So that was the objective of the preliminary inspection. Now, based on those objectives, the basic information to be gathered. So this is the list of basic information to be gathered. Period of construction, construction details including architectural, structural and as-built drawings, then exposure conditions of the structure, designed use versus present use of the structure, previous changes in use if any, record of structural changes made if any, record of first occurrence of deterioration, details of repairs if carried out in the past, reports of previous investigations or condition surveys if any, apparent cause of distress as could be ascertained from the owner or client, photographs of distressed portions of structures. So these are the basic information gathering that we need to collect in the preliminary inspection stage. So as we can see, just like a medical condition, generally these days medical reports are very important. For a person of if there is even slight long-term ailment that is detected, even from the young age you will have to maintain all your medical test reports wherever you go, whichever diagnostic tests you do, you have to maintain in a file, so that at a later point of time, for the doctors it becomes easy to refer back to the previous medical tests and check how your condition is changing. Similarly, for a building, these record is a must. Every building must have a proper record of not only the drawings, but what are the changes that were made to the building. So, and that has to be recorded. And the consulting engineer who is taking care of repair and rehabilitation, he has to collect these data from the owner or the owner or the client. Then, very important is to have photographs of the distressed structure and its members, so that it will be helpful to have a feel. Now, this is a sample of a preliminary inspection report. You just write the causes, okay, and you identify these are the symptoms and the age of appearance, and you just write for the structure just a preliminary. Is there a structural deficiency? Yes. Is there spalling? Yes. Age of appearance early and it has been a long term. Reinforcement corrosion? Yes, there is a cracking because of reinforcement corrosion. There is spalling also. However, it is not early, but it has a long term impact. Yes. Then frost damage, fire damage, chemical attack, all these. Just a sample. Next, planning stage. Planning stage is very, very important. Now, as we will see, planning stage. Planning stage involves preparation of field documents, grouping of structural members, and classification of damage as under. So, planning stage first, preparation of field documents. For condition survey, the following are required to be prepared. Survey objective, very important. We have to write what is the objective. So and so building located at so and so address, and it is to be, the objective is to assess for its structural condition assessment. Depend on the complaint, it can be very specific. Okay, if it's not a full thorough investigation, it can be just something partial investigation. So the survey objective has to be identified, scope of the survey has to be clearly mentioned. Scope means, is it for the full building? Is it only for the damaged portion of the structure? Are we talking only about the ground floor lobby, or are we talking for every floor? Depends on what is the nature of the damage. So what is the scope of the work? That has to be identified. Then the method of survey. Which are the methods of survey? This is condition survey. What steps will you take? That has to be identified. Is it just visual inspection, or you would along with visual inspection you need to carry some NDT tests, non-destructive testing equipments. So all that has to be mentioned here. Then the field and laboratory testing requirements and field equipments and tools required for the same. So once you write the method of survey, then the testing requirements and everything will come into picture. List of tasks and the sequence for condition survey together with a work schedule, because it may be a huge building and there are so many areas where we need to examine. So we need to prepare a work schedule. We start from where and where. This planning is important. Required number of photocopy of available drawings, floor plans based on field requirements, worksheets and tables for recording in a logical manner all information, test results, including field data gathered, previous condition survey results and investigation reports, if any, maintenance and repair records. So this is preparation of the documents. In planning stage, there is just preparation of the documents. Worksheets are documents in the form of flow plans, charts, statistical formats to record relevant data, observations, locations, quality, type and extent of damage. So these have to be tailor-made for structural elements, that is slabs, beams and columns for the projects under investigation. Worksheets are required for study of damage pattern and its extent, as well as to work out bill of quantities of various repair items based on condition survey. The worksheet, so very important. This planning stage is very important because after going there on the site, it may be very difficult. So the worksheets have to be properly uh, made and carried there so that we just can simply enter the values there. So just like in our lab experiments, we have an observation book which we note all the points and we prepare a table. When we do the test, we immediately just write the values there and do the calculations. Likewise, for uh, you know condition survey, we have to, in this planning stage, we need to prepare worksheets. And for slabs, what we will record will be slightly different from that for beams and for columns. So those worksheets have to be prepared. So plan of building at each floor with suitable grid pattern evolved to identify structural member in an RCC frame structure. Okay, so we will see in a few slides to come a plan. So in a grid pattern, it is very important to know the plan in a scaled drawing so that we can identify where to address what. Then very important in the planning stage is grouping of structural members. It is impossible to go to each and every beam, each and every column and each and every slab of a building. So those columns which are similar, uh, uh, similar, because of the way of the design of an apartment building or a particular structure. So similar columns can be categorized. They may be similar in terms of dimensions, reinforcement details, and the kind of load that is coming onto it. So based on that, we can group columns. Columns set 1, columns set 2, columns set 3, like that, beams set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4. Now, uh, similarly for slabs. Now, it would so happen that we select only a particular, from a set, we may choose only one member, either one beam or one column or one slab from the set, and do testing for that. Based on that, we will conclude for the other. So that is why it is very important to have grouping of structural members. Next, we should have a classification of damage so that we know what to do. Now, this is, see, class 0 is cosmetic damage. This is a CPWD given material. You have cosmetic damage. Just top finishing is spoiled. We need just to do finishing. Then there is something called superficial damage, class 1 damage. Final finishes, skin alone damage, no structural cracks observed. Carbonation depths not yet reached reinforcement level. So carbonation is there, but it has not reached reinforcement level, so it is superficial damage. Then patch repair, class 2. Minor structural cracks observed and carbonation depths reach reinforcement level. So structural cracks are observed. Okay. Next, principal repair. Spalling of concrete cover concrete, major structural cracks including cracking along reinforcement due to corrosion or otherwise leading to substantial reduction of load carrying capacity. This is a principal repair. And major repair, major structural loss necessitating replacement of the structural member. So you have to categorize. So when we go to the site and these beams are numbered, in this we can say beam, these set of beams have class 0 damage, these set of beams have class 1 damage, this set of beams has class 3 damage, like that. So class repair requirements, class O only redecoration is required. Class 1 superficial repair of slight damage to non-structural finishes, and not class 2 damage repair requirements are non-structural or minor structural repairs limited to crack sealing, restoring the lost cover concrete, so on. This is damage is little severe, it is a major structural damage. Okay, so strengthening repair to reinforced concrete in accordance with the load carrying requirements of the member. Concrete strength may be extremely low and reinforcement dia might have been significantly reduced, requiring check by design procedure. So this requires a major strengthening. And last, major strengthening repair ignoring the original concrete and reinforcement or demolition and recasting. So these are the major repair that is required. Next, after the planning stage, visual inspection. So we need to plan this visual inspection stage, and what we are going to summarize here is very small. Visual inspection, we'll have a complete another lecture on visual inspection. Now visual inspection, it is different from preliminary inspection. In preliminary inspection we just go observe and come. In visual inspection we need to be prepared, we need to carry things along with us. So visual examination of a structure is most effective qualitative method of evaluation of structural soundness and identifying the typical distress symptoms together with associated problems. This provides valuable information to an experienced engineer in regard to its workmanship, structural serviceability, and material deterioration mechanism. It is meant to give a quick scan of structure to assess its state of general health. Okay. The record of visual inspection is an essential requirement for preparation of realistic bill of quantities for various repair items. So it is not that the client you go, whatever repair you suggest he will give. We have to itemize and make a bill of quantities. This is the material requirement, this is the workmanship requirement, this is the engineer fee, and this is the taxes, this is the additional charges, transportation charges, all bill of quantities. So for that, very important is to assess the type of repair to be made. So visual inspection plays a key role. Experienced engineers should carry out this work as this forms the basis of detailing out the plan of action to complete the diagnosis of problems and to quantify the extent of distress. Next, very important, simple tools and instruments like camera with flash, magnifying glass, binoculars, gauge for crack width measurement, chisel and hammer are usually needed. Occasionally, a light platform scaffold tower can be used for access to advantage. So in this visual inspection stage, generally we don't go directly for NDT. It is a stage which is before the NDT. It precedes the NDT stage. So, but we have to carry some instruments like this. In the upcoming lectures, we will see the whole detail of visual inspection. Now, this is the commonly observed order of deterioration of RC structures due to aging process. This is given in this table. This is from CPWD handbook. Now, this is an example of a visual inspection. First, there is a common order. First, wet and water stagnating areas with RCC elements located on external direct exposed wall slabs are frequented with alternating wetting direct drying cycles. So this is the first observation one can see is where are wetting in the building and where is water stagnation. Next, because there may be some leak somewhere, so from there. So next, second, thin exposed non-structural RC elements. Example, chhajjas, railings, faces, fins, etc. So next we have to look for these areas. Next, terrace RC slabs with ineffective insulation, waterproofing and drainage systems. So look for terrace RC slab and check the quality of the RC slab uh, finishing. Then wet areas with RCC elements located on inner unexposed walls frequented with alternate wetting drying cycles. This exposed walls is easy because we see it. We will know that we need to address it. But unexposed walls becomes a problem. We won't even know. So unexposed walls, if there is some leak, we have to identify. Then fifth, beams or columns with one face exposed directly to sun and rain, and other face unexposed. This is important because one side weathering is taking place, other side it is not. So we have to see. Uh, Six, beams columns exposed to rain and sun from all sides. Beam columns located in the interior of the building. So this is the common order for visual inspection that has been suggested. Next is field and laboratory testing. So again, it is impractical. It is impractical and it cannot be feasible to conduct a field test or a laboratory test on each and every structural member of an existing distressed building. So we have, as we said, we make groupings of various structural elements. Column group 1, column group 2, column group 3, or set 1, set 2, set 3. Similarly, beams set 1, set 2, set 3, which all have a single commonality. From there, we take a few samples of testing. Okay, so these may be undertaken on selective basis on representative structural members from each of the various groups based on exposed conditions as explained in the preceding sections. The program of such testing, like in the preceding section, it is mentioned that columns, one side exposed to sun and rain, other side not exposed. This is one set of columns. Other set of columns which is exposed to both sun and rain from all sides. Another set of column which is not exposed to sun and rains at all. It is interior. So like that we can make sets, and we can make sets according to the structural dimensions also. So in that way, and from the various groups you take sample. So next, the program of such testing has to be chalked out based on the record of visual inspection. So as I said, this is a example of a building drawing, and these are the columns and these are the beams. They are numbered, and these are the slabs, right? And each room and uh, you know each room, it appears to be like apartment on, this is an apartment, this is an apartment, this is an apartment, this is an apartment. So four apartments, four flats in one apartment floor. So these are columns, these are beams. So now we can classify this, you know, here see C1, C1 exposed on two sides. Then this is C4, C4. This is C3, C3, C2, C2. And then other commonalities we can do. This example. And then what are the field and laboratory testings to be done? So there are so many tests based on the visual inspection. We have to plan that these are the tests to be carried out from the visual inspection report that comes out. So these are the tests that can be carried out. Tests on corrosion of embedded steel. These are the tests. Then concrete quality and durability and deterioration. These are so many tests you can choose from. Concrete strength. These are the tests. These are predominantly partially destructive tests whenever it comes to concrete strength. Hmm. Next, integrity and performance test. We have this. So from these tests, we have to choose a certain sample of tests for condition survey. So thank you. So in this class, just a recap, we discussed uh, we discussed the definition of condition survey, the stages of condition, the objectives of condition survey, and stages of condition survey. The stages of condition survey, there are four. There's preliminary inspection, then there is planning, then there is visual inspection, and then finally uh, field and laboratory testing stage. After all this, a full thorough report and repair methodology has to be chalked out and submitted to the client or the owner. Thank you. We'll meet we'll meet again for the next class. Thank you.